Welcome to What and Series 16 and number 41. Wow, the numbers are getting up there. We're going to be talking about chapter 46 of Genesis. And this is where God speaks to Jacob on the way to Egypt. So Israel took his family with all that he had and came to Beersheba, offered sacrifices to God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." And he said, "Here I am." So he said, "I am God, the God of your father. Do not fear to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will surely bring you up again. And Joseph will put his hand on your eyes." It's been an interesting story, hasn't it? And Israel, meaning Jacob, took his journey with all that he had. In other words, they packed up the whole family and off they went, and he came to Beersheba. Now, Jacob left nothing behind. He came to the southernmost outpost of Canaan on the way to Egypt, and he stops there to honour God with sacrifices. Both Abraham and Isaac lived for a time at this place that they called Beersheba. And it's an interesting place in that history, isn't it? His grandfather Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba many years before and called on the name of the Lord there. Now, you may remember that from when we talked in Genesis chapter 21. Isaac received a special promise from God and built an altar for sacrifice there as well, calling on the name of the Lord, and that is in Genesis chapter 26. It was probably at this very place that Jacob sacrificed stuff, remembering what God had done, not only for himself, but for his family in the past. It was, therefore, a memorial spot in the history of his family. And it is just then a turning point in his own career, but also in the career of the family. Therefore, it called for a special waiting upon the Lord. He was to break, I suppose, new ground, if you want to put it that way, on new relationships and new situation, and enter upon a way which he had not been before. So we read that he offers sacrifices to God, and he refers to it as the God of his father Isaac. God spoke to Jacob in the visions of the night. More than 40 years before, when Jacob was about to leave the promised land, God spoke to him in a dream. Again, Genesis 28 is where we find about that. We've spoken about that in the past. Now, when he was about to leave the land again, God brings an assurance through a dream, or what they would have called and what is referred to in Scripture as the visions of the night. Notice it says, "Do not fear to go down to Egypt." This strongly suggests that there was an element of fear, perhaps because of the strength of the army of Egypt and things like that. Jacob may have remembered that Abraham had gone to Egypt in a time of famine once before, and it was in an expression of his unbelief and much evil that came from it. Remember, he told the Pharaoh at the time that his wife was his sister. He also may have remembered that God told his father Isaac not to go to Egypt. So this is different. God is saying, giving very, very clear direction. Also, Jacob knew God told Abraham that his disciples would be strangers in a land that is not theirs and will serve them, and they will inflict them for 400 years. Again, we refer back to Genesis 13. This is a culmination of a whole heap of the stories of the book of Genesis. As Jacob led his family into this foreign land, he did not know what the future held, not only for himself, he was old, but for his family. As Israel connected with God as he had in the past, he was assured of God's plan for the future. We need to sometimes go back in our thought processes go back to where we were and offer to God our sacrifices or our worship or our attention. Where does it take us today? What attention do we need to give to God? Bless you.